Welcome to the third broadcast of the Copecast. I'm your host, the Cope Crusader. And I'm sorry I've taken so long to come. Pause. But we're here. And I wanted to talk about something because I was filled with regret, filled with sorrow, because I was wrong about something. And, I don't normally take that well. I'm a big conceited dickhead. I'm right about everything. But this thing I was wrong about. And I'm going to go into it. So, during the 2024 debates, the one debate we're getting, which is fucking ridiculous that Donald Trump doesn't want to do a second debate, which is like, ugh, so anti-democracy, whatever. This is a specific clip that I wanted to talk about in the debates because after this clip passed in my first episode of the Copecast, I kind of just brushed it aside, agreed with Kamala Harris because I heard about this story before. I didn't look too deep into it, but she's going to explain a little bit, which is going to give more context.
Important to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rally.
You can see it right there. My mic was muted because I'm a fucking dummy. But, you see her give her point there. Donald Trump rather run on a problem than run on a solution. I heard the story, in passing. I didn't really put it past Donald Trump's character to do something like that. So I didn't really look into it much more than that. And I didn't even look into what was actually in the bill. I just heard it was a bipartisan bill. That should have instantly led red flags in my head, but I just heard it was a bipartisan bill and he blocked it if it was due to border security. And I was like, wow, that's really fucked up. He's putting himself in front of the American people. And then I actually looked into what was in the bill, and I was like, you don't even know how fast I went from Donald Trump's an asshole to whoa, based? Fucking based for blocking this goddamn bill? And I'm going to explain to you why. And I think this snippet from the article that goes over the bill explains everything. Where does the $118 billion go? Where is it going? And if you look at the graph, $20 billion is going to border security, but the rest is going to different countries. And I'm like, no wonder it's a bipartisan bill, because all of our congressmen and people in the Senate are all cucks. They all cuck out. They love giving money away to different countries. I'll go over why they particularly love it so much, but I want to talk about something else. It's like, why are we funding Israel? I literally can't wrap my mind around it. And maybe someone out there who's watching this can explain it to me, but from what I see as a 20-year-old kid who is military age, so if we do end up going to war, it's going to be because I'm gonna be the first one they're going to send out. I'm a little fat, so they'll probably put me in a little fat boot camp first, but after that, I'm getting shipped out, right? It fucking blows my mind that we're supporting a country. in what they're doing. And in the beginning of the war, I thought Israel was completely justified in what they needed to do in order to end Hamas. But the more this war has unfolded, the more information comes out where Israel is blocking humanitarian aid, killing UN workers, liquidating fucking city blocks, killing children, killing civilians, right? They're turning up farmland to actually starve out the population, right? And then they're just constantly killing people. 40,000 people have died, right? And then they claim a certain number of them are Hamas, which is definitely true. I mean, they're definitely killing people from Hamas, but it's like, who's actually the main person who's being affected by this? It's children, it's civilians. You constantly see stories of them bombing tents, dropping 500-pound bombs on a refugee camp to kill a terrorist, and they end up, oh, oopsie doopsie, we killed 20 people on top of that too. Oh, that sucks, you know? And I think it comes from, and it's just like it's really an evil war. It's an evil campaign that is being propagated by Americans, by us. We're the ones funding this war, right? Now, I don't care about giving Israel money for, like, you know, Iron Dome, because that's like a defensive project. You know, we're giving them money so the people, the civilians in Israel do not die, which I completely agree with. I think we should, honestly, I think it's a good thing. I mean, we should be funding them. But then if we're just shipping them bombs to be used against Hamas, but then also happens that Hamas is in a apartment complex with a bunch of other civilians and they just kill everyone, because at the end of the day, Israel doesn't care about Palestinian lives. They put Israeli lives far beyond the lives of Palestinian citizens, which, you know, makes sense in theory, because it's like, you know, it's your country that you're putting ahead, but at the rate that it's going, it's more of like we do not care about your civilians. We're going to just try to eradicate all of you, and no matter how many people are in our way, they'll die too. And you see the same sentiment when they're pushing into Lebanon. They're recently pushing into Lebanon now, trying to fight the Hezbollah. Ripping chat to Hezbollah. Not the terrorist, but Hezbollah, like the little Russian kid. Little Russian guy. He's not a kid. He's like 20 or something. You know, and then they're doing the same thing in Lebanon, you know, with the pager attack, where they're booby-trapping devices that blowing up in civilian areas, killing civilians. So it's like we're constantly giving them money. And you know what's something even funnier too? When I was reading this article, it goes even further here, where this goonball right here. The priorities of the bill are too important to ignore, too vital to allow politics to get in the way. Right? Schumer said in the statement, the United States and our allies are facing multiple and complex... what the frick? Facing multiple complex and, in places, coordinated challenges from adversaries who seek to disrupt democracy and expand authoritarian influence around the globe. That's pretty funny, because it's like authoritarian influence around the globe. Maybe like Israel trying to become the hegemon of the region, right? Because if you're paying attention to the region, you know that Israel wants to expand their territory. Right, they're expanding into the West Bank with the settlers. It's a strategic play, right? It's the same thing that Russia's doing in Ukraine, where they have civilians there and they claim that it's their land and they can take it. Israel's doing the same thing in the West Bank. They're attempting to. If you look into it's just so much. It's like, I don't understand why we support this country, especially the fact. Oh yeah, let's actually continue here. Like I'm rambling a lot. And this is really funny, bro. With House representatives divided on how to address the huge number of immigrants' arrivals and whether to provide Ukraine with more aid, Johnson on Saturday said he plans to hold a vote this week on a new bill providing $17 billion in military assets to Israel. And it's like, oh, so, you know, the border really isn't the main priority here, right? Do not let them fucking fake you out. They don't care about the border, because they allowed the border to be open for years before they try to do anything about it. Their main thing is that they want to tie it in to give more money to Israel, more money to... The main reason why this probably didn't pass was because of the funding to Ukraine. Because it's it's truly bipartisan to give money to Israel, because both sides of our politics is completely cucked out to that country. Probably because they're getting a lot of money from AIPAC. Might be, right? Or the fact that they have a lot of money in... war stocks, which I'm going to go through that as well, Are members of Congress invested in the war? So this is another article here from Sludge, where at least 50 members of Congress and other members of their households hold stock in defense contracts, companies that receive hundreds and billions of dollars annually from congressionally crafted Pentagon legislation. The total value of federal lawmaker defense contract stocks holdings could be as much as $10 million, according to Sludge Analyst of 2023 Fiscal Disclosures. National defense funding, which is authorized annually by Congress, has grown steadily each year during the Biden administration for fiscal year of 2024. The national defense top line was at least $145 billion, larger than it was in 2021, an increase of nearly 20% from the last defense budget of Donald Trump's administration. More than half of the Pentagon budget goes into private contractors, defense policy analyst Stephen Simler found in Sludge Analyst. In fiscal year of 2024, Congress approved a record high of $953 billion in defense funding. In December of 2023, it approved $886 billion through the National Defense Organization Act, NDAA. In the Senate, several lawmakers with investments in defense contracts sit on the committee that set and approved defense spending. 3 are on the Committee for Armed Services, and 5 members of the Committee of Appropriations, including 2 who sit on the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee. This body has jurisdiction over drafting legislation to allocate funds to government agencies, including the Department of Defense, as well as supplemental spending bills. On the House side, at least 5 lawmakers who hold stakes in defense contractors sit on the House Armed Services Committee, which has jurisdiction over defense policy, headlined in the mammoth annual NDAA. 3 of the representatives sit on the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee. Now you're probably like, oh, why does this matter? More than 3 dozen members of Congress own stock in the big 5 defense contractors: Lockheed Martin, RTX, Nordstrom, General Dynamics, and Boeing. 3 of these companies, Lockheed Martin, Nordstrom, and General Dynamics, bring in at least 80% of the revenue from federal defense contracts. The 4th, RTX, brings in 59% of the revenue from defense contracts, according to figures in Defense News. The big 5 defense giants were projected to be paid $140 billion altogether in fiscal year of 2024. Here's a quote here. It's, "This type of conflict of interest is already banned from executive branch officials and should be for Congress as well," said Haltman. "The Ethics Act would just avoid the conflict of interest by prohibiting members of Congress and their spouses from owning stock investments altogether." So yeah, our politicians are invested in stocks, right? So if you're invested into a stock like a Lockheed Martin, Nordstrom, General Dynamics, right, and you're also in charge of drafting up how much money goes to those places, you're looking at a lot of money. It's objectively terrifying that the personal benefit of any member of Congress is factored into decisions about how to wield and fund the largest military in the world. Right? And you're probably thinking, how much money can you realistically make from something like this? Defense company stocks have done well during the Biden administration, generally outperforming the S&P 500, increasing over approximately 45% during the period. Since President Biden was sworn in, the stock prices of Lockheed Martin, and the largest weapon manufacturer in the world, has risen 63%. In April, after Congress approved and Biden signed off a $95 billion supplemental aid package for Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan, Lockheed Martin CEO Jim Talley told investors on a quarterly earnings call that the president budget request and additive supplement funding will provide a strong underpinning for the future growth over the next several years for our company. The stock prices of RTX has increased 71% with Biden in the White House, with other company revenue similarly boosted by April supplementary aid bill. In October earning call, the company then CEO Greg Haynes now has a chairperson that said that with the Department of Defense stepping up orders for Israel and Ukraine, RTX would see a benefit of its restocking. Nordstrom Gunman has also seen 71% increase in its share pricing under Biden. In July, the company raised earnings and profit forecast driven by supplementary weapons funding for the war in Ukraine and Gaza. General Dynamics, whose share prices has risen more than 91% under Biden administration, has seen its revenue swell as demands for weapon increases. Yeah, so I mean, it's really scary, you know, that in our country, our politicians are so easily manipulated. Not only something like AIPAC, which dumps millions of dollars into our politics, brags about that they're able to choose who they want, right? That they had like 96% of the people that they backed went into office because they were giving them so much money. And the fact that AIPAC is a foreign lobby. It's for a lobby for a foreign government. And then you're surprised that we're giving all this money overseas. It's not because of democracy. Get that out of your head, okay? Because if you can't see the hypocrisy between Israel and Ukraine, you are foolish, okay? The fact that on one side, we are sitting there saying, oh, we need to defend democracy against a country that's invading and attacking and aggressing, and we need to defend them completely and give them billions of dollars. And then on the other hand, we say that we need to give Israel unlimited support in their territorial, evil, expansionist regime that they're trying to push into the West Bank, push into Gaza, fight Hezbollah, killing a bunch of civilians. Not that Israel doesn't have the right to defend themselves, obviously, but it's the way that they're going through the war. It's the way that they're going through the war. Killing civilians, like destroying infrastructure to the point where the place is unlivable, right? Now that they have everyone stocked in Rafah, just like cattle. Like cattle. It's so sad. And if you can't see the hypocrisy between those two regions and we're supporting one side and not supporting the other, it's just like so strange to me. And then you're surprised that we're funding these places. And it's like, no, you really shouldn't be surprised because, number one, them and their family are all invested into these companies that have a direct impact on how much funding they're getting. And then two, they're being funded on the other hand for their campaigns by AIPAC. So they're literally best of both worldings right now. They're making money in their pocket from defense contracts, right? Because they're investing into these companies. Yeah, it's just absolutely sad. You know, it's an obvious conflict of interest. And then we're being gaslit into pretending that it's a good thing that we're supporting a genocide across the country. And then also propping up a country that will not win its war, eventually is going to lose the war and give up the territory, and we're just giving them money to I don't know, man. It's just like we're going to war, bro. We're going to war. Strap on the helmets, baby. We're cooked. They did that in 9/11.
Did you realize that you were a champion in their eyes?
Yes, I did. So I passed it on, brought it back to the crib. Just a little something, show you how we live. Everybody want it, but it ain't that serious. That's that. So if you're gonna do it just like this.
Did you realize that you were a champion in their eyes?
You don't see this how wide the crowd is. You don't see this how fly my style is. I don't see why I need a stylist. When I shop so much, I can speak Italian. I don't know this one better for my kids. I ain't saying wheels from the project, but every time I wanna lay wire or deposit, my dad don't say when he see clothes, close your eyelids. Wolf sorta like Will Smith and his son. In the movie, I ain't talking about the rich ones. Cause every summer, you get some brand new harebrained scheme to get rich from. I don't know what he did for dope, but he sent me back to school with a new wardrobe. And hey,
That you were a champion in their eyes.